This episode is supposed to be Urban News number 50, but I decided to make something special and to dream for a while. So, this video will be a roundup of fictional news that I would love to see in the future, so you can consider it as a news from the future or maybe the news from a parallel dimension. By the way, be sure to write in the comments what dream urban news you'll be happy to see. And before we start, of course, as usual, I'd like to thank to all my amazing Patreon and not only Patreon supporters. So, on the border between Chile and Argentina, traffic was inaugurated through the Trans-Andean Railway tunnels, one of which is designed for freight trains and the other is a key part of the Two Oceans high-speed rail project. This new $60 billion rail line, which has been under construction for the past 8 years, has a total length of 1,500 kilometers and connects Buenos Aires, Argentina and Valparaiso, Chile with intermediate stops in Rosario, Córdoba, San Luis, Mendoza, and Santiago. The new line connects 4 largest cities of Argentina and reduces travel time between Buenos Aires and Mendoza from the previous 15.5 hours to 4.5. The line operates high-speed Hyundai Rotem trains designed for speeds up to 320 km per hour, which runs at 30-minute headways. And the next steps in the plans of Argentine Railways are also construction of a high-speed rail lines between Córdoba and Salta and from Buenos Aires to Bahia Blanca. Meanwhile, in Canada, we also have some good railway news cause after 10 years of construction, the first line of the Canadian high-speed rail, which cost more than $100 billion, has finally started operating. Luckily, a whole bunch of Canada's largest cities with a total population of about 7 million people are located along almost the straight line of less than 1,000 kilometers, so introduction of a high-speed rail line here was quite a logical and long-awaited step. So the new 980 kilometers long line starts in Quebec City, passes through Montreal, Ottawa, Kingston, Toronto and Hamilton, and now ends in the urban YouTube famous fake London. And the line is operated by double-decker trains built by Alstom, which cover the distance from Quebec City to London in 4 hours, reaching a maximum speed of 350 kilometers per hour, which is much better than the previous 14 hours that this train used to take to make the same trip. A crucial aspect of the new line was convenient location of the stations, which significantly complicated the project but helped to make it as convenient for passengers as possible. Trains run at half-hourly intervals. Due to its speed, reliability and convenience, the service is expected to help Quebecers and Ontarians reduce car dependence and decrease emissions. And in the future, the line is planned to be extended by another 180 kilometers to the west to connect with Detroit, but some work must be done on the US side as well. And by the way, in parallel with the launch of high-speed rail, London, Ontario is also developing mobility within the city. Recently, they launched a 16-kilometer-long third line of the city's light rail connecting Longwoods and Uplands. And together with the previous 2 lines, the total length of the system has now reached 55 kilometers. And in addition to the tracks, which are separated from private cars everywhere, the overall street design along the lines has changed as well to make it more comfortable for pedestrians and cyclists by widening sidewalks, planting new trees and providing safe bicycle infrastructure. The city authorities expect these changes to contribute to a more harmonious development of the city and to the active development of local businesses. Meanwhile, the city of Boise, Idaho has recently launched an expansion of its light rail system, so Line 1 now connects downtown Boise with Meridian, and Line 2 goes from Star City through the downtown area and has another terminus at the city's airport. The new public transportation system was a result of a sustainable urban mobility plan approved 10 years ago and aims to reduce car dependence among Boiseans by creating a convenient alternative alternative to private car commuting. The streets have been redesigned to include not only tram lines but also more greenery and safe bike infrastructure. And since the launch 3 years ago, Boise light rail traffic has been growing steadily and last year reached 10 million passengers a year. Meanwhile, in Italy, after 5 years of construction, the world's longest suspension bridge connecting the island of Sicily and the Italian mainland was opened for traffic. Its length reaches 3.5 kilometers and the roadway has 2 levels. There are car lanes on the upper level and rail tracks and a bicycle and pedestrian path on the lower level. Previously, connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing that even transported rail cars, which was a unique thing by itself, but took a lot of time. But now connection with Sicily will be much easier and faster, and it will be possible to get there even on foot. And finally, we moved to the Gulf of Finland, where they launched an underwater rail tunnel between Tallinn and Helsinki. The tunnel itself is 55 kilometers long, and the entire route between the two capitals is 120 kilometers. So now you can get from Tallinn to Helsinki in just 45 minutes, which is much faster than the ferry, which used to be the main option for such trips. Okay, I think that's where I'll stop. And just in case, let me remind you once again that this was not real news, but just a little bit of what I would like to see happen in a real life, and which will probably happen not very soon or never at all. By the way, be sure to write which of these ideas seems the most realistic to you, which are the most useful, and what urban news do you dream of. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos. Meanwhile, in Canada, we also have some good railway news, cause after 10 years of almost the straight line of less than 1,000 kilometers, so instead of 350 kilometers per hour, which is much better than the previous 14 hours than this train used that An important aspect was the new line. An important aspect of the new line was convenient location of the stations, which significantly complicated the project but helped to make it as convenient as possible for passengers. Previously, the connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing, Previously, the connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing, which Previously, the connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing, which even transported Previously, the connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing, which even transported How do I pronounce this? Previously, connection to the island was provided by a ferry crossing, which even transported rail cars, which was